Hello, and welcome to the 18th episode of the Rogue Deck Chronicles. My name is Dean, and I am by myself today. This is going to be a solo recording. John is still recovering from his procedure he had. We wish him all the health and wellness, and he'll most likely be back next week, and we'll talk about our experiences with some tournaments we've been playing in, and we'll go over Gdansk regional since that was this weekend and just what we see going forward. But today we are going to talk about Surging Sparks. So for those who don't know, Surging Sparks is the new Pokemon trading card game set that's going to be releasing in a couple weeks on November 8th. However, we are in pre-release season. So I know I participated in 2 pre-releases technically. My store had 2 events already. I was lucky enough to be able to help my local professor being staff on that. So saw the different kits that were out there and how people use their best knowledge to make the decks and compete in a fun little tournament we had. Before that, we had a challenge at the same shop at Coliseum of Comics. I went 2-2. It was fun. My 2 losses were against people that made the top cut, so I'm not too worried about that. Just gotta play better next time. But now let's talk about the future. Surging Sparks. It's going to be here a couple weeks, and then later around Thanksgiving time or shortly before Thanksgiving, we can play these cards in tournaments. So let's go over some of these cards. So what we're going to do is I have the whole list in front of me. I'm going to go in typing order, and then I'll talk about all the trainer cards and tools and all that. And we'll see how these may impact the upcoming meta, how these impact making rogue decks. And then after we talk about Surging Sparks, we're going to talk about the rogue deck of the week. It won't be a Surging Sparks deck. I want to give you a deck that you can still play in a tournament right now, or even on live on the ladder. So we'll talk about that deck when we get there. But right now, yeah, Surging Sparks. So let's talk about the grass Pokemon. As with any set, we start with this typing. It's always the first in the Pokédex. So it's just fitting to start with grass. So looking at the list, one Pokemon that sticks out to me a little bit, not much. Grass didn't really have a lot going on with this set, which is fine. It was mainly with Dragon and Lightning Pokemon. But one card that caught my eye was the Execute. The 30 HP Execute with the Precorious evolution, and you can use this attack your first turn going first. And what it reads is, if you go first, you can use this attack during your first turn, search your deck for a card that evolves from this Pokemon and put it onto this Pokemon to evolve it, and then shuffle your deck. That is important because there is an Alolan Executor that comes out with this set. It is a Terra Pokemon. We'll talk about that once we get to the Dragon-type Pokemon that I think is actually going to be a nice rogue deck comeback mechanic. That's why I kind of want to talk about the Execute. For the control players out there, there's a Durant EX, has the sudden shearing ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Durant doing Durant things. Does have a comeback attack, but no one's really going to play this card for that. This is going to be for the milling. You can play Durant EX, use Penny or Professor's Toro and do it again, and can mill 2 cards. Again, I don't see this going in a lot of decks. It could have a fun comeback at late game if you need to. However, it's not going to see play in my opinion. And that's coming from the person that enjoys rogue decks. So next we'll talk about the fire Pokemon. Again, not a lot that's coming out in this set. The main Pokemon, though, which is going to be very impactful to the meta, is going to be the Celeridge, sorry I'm pronouncing that wrong, EX. It is a Fire-type Terra Pokemon, 270 HP, and it has the Abyssal Flame attack. So for one fire, it does 30 plus 20 more damage for each energy card in your discard pile. That is a very good attack. I've been keeping up with the Japanese meta. You'll see this deck get in the top 16, sometimes win these tournaments, and you play 15 to 20 energy in this deck. And there's so many ways out there to get the energy into the discard pile right now. You have the Earthen Vessel. You can use it with the Ultra Ball. You have a new Ace Spec, which we will talk about, which can discard energy into discard energy into your discard pile. There's a Drillbur that's out there. When you play it from your hand, you can look for 3 fighting energy and put it in your discard pile. So there's plenty of ways to get that high damage really quick. 270 HP is pretty hard to get to, not impossible. So it's going to be very hard to one-shot this thing. And it does have a second attack called Raging Amethyst. For 280, for a Fire, Psychic, and Metal, you have to discard all your energy from that Pokemon, which again helps with the first attack. You can play this with a Sparkling Crystal to help with the weird energy requirement. But most decks are just doing it for the first attack. The Abyssal Flames is so good. I'm seeing it with, you can pair it with the Armarouge, because it shares a pre-evolution in the Charge Cadet. So just adding on one of Armarouge in there helps accelerate the fire energy onto your bench. Use it to power up this attacker. There's a very turbo list with Squawkability in there. I see this showing up in maybe some day 2. I'm not going to say it's going to win, but I think it'll definitely get day 2 at regionals once this becomes illegal. I myself am looking at playing this. This is actually one of the cards I pulled in my kits this past weekend. So I'm excited. One downfall, it is weak to water. The Palkia deck is around, so that can be an easy KO. However, that's not going to be an issue KOing this Pokemon anyway, even without the weakness. So we'll see how this plays out. I'm excited for it. It's going to be a fun deck. So next we're going to talk about the water decks. There's a couple Pokemon that are coming out. One is the Melodic EX. It has the Sparkling Scales ability. What it reads is prevent all damage from and effects of attacks from your opponent's Terra Pokemon done to this Pokemon. So this is in the active. You're going against, say, Regidrago. They have their Tailmaster Ogerpon in play. Can't get damage. Have Celeridge, for instance. Can't get damage. So any Terra Pokemon out there is very good with protecting against. It's going to be making its home in wall decks. You kind of see people already playing this card with Cornerstone Mask, Ogerpon, and Noivern. It's just another way to deflect damage in a already defense-heavy build. The attack is Hypno Splash, does 160 for a water and 2 colorless, and then the opponent's active Pokemon is asleep. I think this is going to be it's a fun deck that's going to be played. May see it in day 2. It's for those who love wall decks, love the stalling type decks. I actually may build this myself too. That is something I love playing. I'm very a defense heavy strategist. I love that type of deck when it comes to playing any game. Haven't been able to build something like this lately, so this may be the push I need to really try Melodic EX out. Another card you may see with the water type Pokemon, I'm going to call out the Xianpao. It has the Snow Sink ability. When you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you may discard Stadium play. It's reminiscent of Marshadow, if those who remember. It's a good way to get the stadium out of play when you don't have a stadium bump. I can see this being a one-off. However, it's going to stay on your bench. It only has 120 HP. The attack is okay, but not the greatest. But if you really need that stadium bump, this is a nice, easy way to get that. You can Ultra Ball this, play it. Do not Nest Ball it because it does say from your hand onto your bench. People will make that mistake. I know I'll probably make that mistake. So just forewarn. So next we're going to talk about Lightning. So as I mentioned before, Lightning got a lot of good cards. About like 3 or 4, which in retrospect, it's a decent chunk for this set. So the cards we're going to highlight is 2 in particular, and then 1 I think is going to be okay. So the first one's going to be the Pikachu EX. Everyone's talking about this card. It has the Resolute Heart ability. If this Pokemon has full HP and will be knocked out by damage from an attack, it is not knocked out, and its remaining HP is 10. That is going to be very defense heavy. This is going to be a nice pivot for you. It has the Topaz Bolt attack for 300 for a Grass, Lightning, and Metal. You can find ways to accelerate that into play, but it's really going to be used for Resolute Heart ability. I will say it nullifies with poison damage for those playing Claw for a poison or a status condition deck. You can do your damage, but the status condition will knock it out. So just have that warning out there. I love this. It's going to knock out almost everything, especially with some of the stadium, with actually a specific stadium that came out that pairs well with this, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And the next Lightning Pokemon we're going to talk about is Magneton. So Magneton is actually one of the promos. So if you're at a pre-release and someone's asking to trade for this card, there is a reason. 1, the art is amazing. And 2, it has the Overvolt Discharge ability. Once during your turn, you may attach up to 3 basic energy cards from your discard pile to your Lightning Pokemon in any way you like. If you use this ability, this Pokemon is knocked out. So you are losing and giving up a prize card, kind of like the Dusknoir and Dusclops from Shroud of Fables, but you can attach any 3 basic energy, which pairs with Pikachu EX. You discard from Topaz Bolt, use Magneton, put that energy back on. This is going to be a crazy combo. You're going to see this in a lot of lightning-driven decks, specifically Pikachu and Miraidon. Miraidon is starting to play Raichu V again because of this ability, this card. It's an easy way for the energy to get back into play and for Raichu to do a bunch of damage. So Magneton is going to see a lot of play, in my opinion. It also depends on how Miraidon is really fitting into this meta. We're not seeing it right now, but this could be the push to kind of see this in the top 6 of a regional again. And then the last Lightning Pokemon I want to talk about is Rotom. So it's a 80 HP basic Pokemon with the Crashing Pulse attack. Your opponent reveals your hand, discard all item cards and Pokemon tool cards you find there. This is going to be paired with Control. You can miss Fortune Sisters, or you can use Zerdic Machinations, and then attack with this and have the ability to get rid of all your cards in your opponent's hand. Your opponent will not have a good time. You will. So be mindful, this card is going to exist. This could be a good card for GLC, for those who play GLC. I play a little bit. You do play a lot of items, and a lot of tool cards are one-ofs in GLC that you need for combos. So this can disrupt in GLC as well. So next is going to be Psychic Pokemon. There's a few really good cards coming up in the Psychic realm for this. One is going to be the Azumarill with the Glistening Bubbles ability. If you have any Terra Pokemon in play, this Pokemon can use the Double Edge attack for 1 Psychic Energy. So, spoiler, has 1 attack, Double Edge, does 230. Typically, it requires 4 Psychic Energies to attack. But with the ability, and you can play either Trap Ghost, a lot of people are just playing Cornerstone, Mask, Ogerpon, whatever Terra Pokemon you want to pair this with, you can attack this for 1 Psychic Energy and do 230. You're doing 50 damage to yourself, but that is a heavy hit. I've actually seen a list where this is paired with Dragapult EX. You're already playing the Psychic Energy in there. It's already a Terra Pokemon. This actually fits really well with it. Another Pokemon I want to highlight is the Latias EX. This is probably one of these chase cards in this set for competitive play. It has the Skyliner ability, which says your basic Pokemon in play have no retreat costs. That is insane. You will need to play a one-off in this. As an Eon Blade attack, 200 for a Psychic Colorless. And then during your turn, this Pokemon can't attack. But most people are not attacking with this card. It's kind of like a Fezandipiti. Actually, a lot of ways is like Fezandipiti. It has 210 HP. It is a basic Pokemon, so you can get this with the Nest Ball. Once it's in play, if you're a very basic Pokemon-driven deck, this is for you. This helps you maneuver, damage attackers in and out of play. I've seen this in Raging Bolt. I've seen this in Cloth. I've seen this in Roaring Moon. Miraidon will play this. A lot of decks are looking for this Latias EX. It is very good. It is a great support mon. Everyone is going to eye this in the competitive realm. Another Pokemon is going to be Sylveon EX. So this is a Terra Psychic Pokemon, 270 HP. Evolves from an Eevee, which there's actually a very nice Eevee coming out in this set, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Has 2 attacks. The first attack for a Psychic and double colorless for 160 Magical Charm. During your opponent's next turn, attacks used by the defending Pokemon do 100 less damage. So that could mean a lot. That can save this from getting KO'd. However, it is very easily play against. All you do is just switch it out of the active, turns off the effect of the attack. What the main attack that I'm looking at is the Angelite attack. For a Water, Lightning, and Psychic, you choose 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon, shuffle those Pokemon and all attached cards into your opponent's deck. If one of your Pokemon use Angelite during your last turn, this attack can't be used. So this is very strategic. This will disrupt your opponent's attacker very heavily. I actually see this getting paired with Glimmora EX. For those who don't know, Glimmora EX has an ability where when it's in the active spot, your opponent has to discard their bench until it's 3. So I see evolve to the Glimmora, they get 3 Pokemon under bench, then you retreat out, hit with the Sylveon EX, play Angelite for your attack, and now your opponent only has a active Pokemon in play and 1 bench Pokemon. If your opponent's playing Rare Candy theme decks like Charizard, Hydreigon, Dragapult, they're going to have a hard time getting those Pokemon back in play. I think this is a very combo reliant idea, but it looks like it'll be fun if you can pull it out. Another card I think will be fun, probably not going to see play in competitive tournaments, is the Palossand EX. Evolves from Sandygast, which we get in this set as well. 280 HP Pokemon. Has 2 attacks, but the one I want to focus on is the Barite Jail. For a Water, Psychic, and Fighting, it says put damage counters on each of your opponent's bench Pokemon until it reaches 100 HP. Well, you might be asking, well, why is that so good? It still has 100 HP left. That's not really a big deal. Like, people can play around that. You're right, they can. But I'm going to jump ahead. There is another new Pokemon in the fighting category called Flygon EX. So it's another Terra Pokemon, 310 HP, evolves from Vibrava. The attack I want to highlight with that is the Sonic Peridot. Don't know how it's actually pronounced. We'll figure that out. But it says this does 100 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V.
Hey all you rogues out there, we just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you to our sponsor, For Honor and Glory. They are a great support to us and have all the things you need related to Pokemon, Magic, D&D, Warhammer, and more. You can go over to forhonorandglory.com and use discount code ROGUE24. That's discount code ROGUE24 at forhonorandglory.com for 10% off your entire online order. Alright, let's get back to talking about those sneaky decks.
You see how that's getting combined with Alright Jail? Get it down 100 HP if they're Pokemon V or EX. Hit with the Flygon, you're knocking out all those Pokemon. You can get 6 prizes, if not more, in one turn by doing it like that. With that being said, it is going to be a hard combo to pull off. It does share the water and fighting energy types, so you have to play Metal and Psychic to make this work. Sparkling Crystal can probably help you out with that. But this is a fun combo. I may try to see if I can build this and make it work. Even if I play it on casual and just get one win, I think that will be fun. But we'll see how that goes. But that is an idea that I've kind of been thinking about. We'll see if this even makes play. We'll see if other creators think of this idea. So this will be in our back pocket until then. Another Pokemon I think we'll kind of see play is a Fluttermane. Another ancient Pokemon has a perplexing transfer attack for two double colorless. Move all damage counters from one of your bench ancient Pokemon to your active ancient Pokemon. Opponent's active Pokemon. So you can pair this with Gouge Fire EX. You play this in Ancient Box. It's a way to move damage counters to your opponent. It may see its play in there. It is 90 HP. It is 1 retreat cost. We'll see how that goes. I saw this. Thought it might be a fun inclusion, but there's a better new ancient Pokemon to play in Ancient Box that we'll talk in a little bit. But yeah, that's the Psychic Pokemon. Next, we'll go into fighting. Already talked about the Flygon EX. We'll see how that fits in. Excuse me. It does have the Reversing Storm attack for 130. And you can switch this Pokemon with your bench Pokemon. So hit another hit and run. It's only 1 fighting energy to do it. 130 isn't bad, but it's only 130. Another fighting Pokemon that we may want to keep our eye on is a Gastrodon. It's a stage 1 fighting type Pokemon with the Sticky Bind ability. This is important because it reads, as long as this Pokemon is on your bench stage 2 Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, have no abilities. This can hinder Charizard. This can hinder really just Charizard. Maybe Hydreigon. No, Hydreigon doesn't have an ability. So yeah, Charizard is really going to have a hard time with this. However, it's easily play around. As long as Charizard is in the active, it can use the ability. As long as Pidgeot's in the active, it can use its ability. So it's not a perfect solution against that deck, but it's something. Oh, another example is Dusknoir. But like I said, if that Pokemon's in the active, it can still use its ability. So we'll see if this actually makes play. It was a nice idea to print this. We do need help with Stage 2s, specifically the Charizard EX deck. But it may not be enough. The last card I want to talk about with fighting Pokemon, it's a Crydon. It's an ancient Pokemon, 130 HP, and the attack that I want to focus on is the Unrelenting Onslaught. For 2 colorless energy, it does 30 damage, and if one of your ancient Pokemon use an attack during your last turn, it does 150 more damage. So you can do 180 damage, and it fits perfectly with Ancient Box. You're always going to be attacking with an ancient Pokemon. So if you just need that 180, this is perfect. However, with Ancient Box, you tend to want to increase your attack every single turn. It may be better to just have the Roaring Moon out, but if you're in a jam, this can help you. So next is going to be Dark type Pokemon. We only get 5 in this set, but there's one that I want to highlight. It is the Hydreigon EX. It is a Stage 2 Terra Dark Pokemon with 330 HP and has 2 attacks. The first attack for a Darkness and Colorless, it's Crashing Headbutt. It does 200, and then you discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. So it mills and does decent damage. That's not bad. And then the other attack is Obsidian. It does 130, and then does 130 to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. That's awesome. I've seen a video with this deck played with Tatsugiri EX. It's also, you want to play with the Tri-Howl Baby Hydreigon, because what that card does has an ability with Tri-Howl. You look at the top, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and attach any basic energy you find from there. So you can pair that with Decipher's Code Breaking, put 2 energy on the top, use Tri-Howl, and then attach it to Hydreigon for an easy, at least 2 energy. What makes Obsidian interesting is that the energy cost is a Psychic, Dark, Metal, and then Colorless. So 4 energy. You can get away with a little less with Counter Gain or Sparkling Crystal, but trying to get this off a couple times may be a really good play. However, 130 is still 130. You're not knocking out a lot of Pokemon, even if you're 2-shotting. We'll see how that goes. I think this is a very interesting deck to keep an eye on. It is doing well in Japan a little bit. It's paired off with the Pidgeot. Mainly using the first attack, because 200 is great. And then you're milling 3 cards. That's a really good strategy to go with. Next is my favorite type, Metal. There's 2 cards I want to really talk about. The first one, Iron Crown. I'm only talking about this because I think this will be really good in Metal GLC decks. It has the Deleting Slash attack for 40. Plus, if your opponent has 3 or more bench Pokemon, this does 80 more damage. So 120 for a Metal and Colorless. 120 is pretty decent in GLC. Outside of that, it's going to be a hard time convincing someone to put this in a standard deck. But next, the big bad guy itself. That's not bad. It's the Archaeodon EX. It's a 300 HP stage 1 metal Pokemon, so beefy boy right there. And it has the Assemble Alloy ability. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic metal energy cards from your discard to your metal Pokemon any way you like. That's nice. The reason why it's nice, it goes with his Metal Defender attack. So it's 3 metal energy for 220, and then you get rid of weakness for during your opponent's next turn. So evolve, use Assemble Alloy, put 2 metal energy on this Pokemon, attach for turn, boom. You have your 3 energy right there. And 300 HP, it's not going down without a fight. This has also been seen to be paired with the Dialga VSTAR. Evolve 2 of these, and you can get the VSTAR Star Chronos powered up in 1 turn. Another card that this is paired with is Relicanth, with the ability that lets you attack using your pre-evolutions Pokemon. And there's a Duraludon from Stellar Crown that does 80 plus for 10 more for every damage on it. So if you don't knock this thing out, have Relicanth in play, you can revenge hit so easily. So I'm excited to see how this is going to get played. It's been also paired with Luxray. It's been paired with the Dunsparce for Supportmon. So we'll see how the TPCI regions takes this card and elevate it. I'm excited. This is definitely one of the decks I want to be testing for Toronto. I am going to the Toronto Regionals. And I played Arc Duraludon 2 seasons ago. It gave me most of my points for last season. And I think it's just fitting for me, at least potentially, to take this deck and go to Toronto back. So we'll see. Next, we are going to talk about Dragon Pokemon. There's a couple in here I want to just highlight, just like every other typing. First one was that Alolan Executor EX that I talked about earlier. So Stage 1, 300 HP Pokemon, so another beefy boy. The one attack I love, I think will be interesting to build a list around, is the Swinging Sveen attack. For a Grass, Water, and Fighting energy, you flip a coin. If heads, knock out your opponent's active Pokemon. If tails, knock out your opponent's bench basic Pokemon. This could be nuts. Most decks are playing the Fezandipiti, Lemonion, Squawkabilly, Teal Mask Ogerpon. There's a lot of targets if you flip tails. Either way, you're knocking out something. And you're not doing damage. So because it's getting knocked out, well, I actually need to read that in the interpretation, because Fezandipiti could proc with this. I need to do some more research and see, so don't take my word for it. But at the end of the day, you're going to get one, maybe 2 prize cards. I wondered how this is actually going to play in Expanded too, because then you have the 3 prize Pokemon, the tag team, and with VMAXs, this could be nuts and Expanded as well. So, just my friend Justin, if you're listening to me, I know you're playing that Regidrago and Expanded. You may want to consider having this attack in there, or this card in there. The last Pokemon I want to talk about for Dragon is Tatsugiri EX. When this came out, people wrote it off, and it still is. It's not the best card. There's way better cards than this. But after seeing some videos, the Cinnabar Lure attack for a fire, water, and dark energy. Look at the top 10 cards of your deck. You may put any number of Pokemon. No descriptor in front of that, just Pokemon cards. You find there onto your bench, and then you shuffle the rest back into your deck. I watched Tricky Jim showcase the Tatsugiri EX with Hydreigon. He used the Cinnabar Lure going on his second turn. He was able to power it up with the help of... Actually, he didn't even need to use Sparkling Crystal. He was able to just power it up. Crispin. Go that route. And he was able to put Hydreigon EX, Baby Hydreigon, Duskmar, and Pidgeot EX all onto his bench. Didn't need the pre-evolutions, just went straight to the bench. That is insane to do that. That's great. I think people are sleeping on Tatsugiri EX. This is... Yes, you're going to give up 2 prize cards with it. It was 160 HP. But if you can get that Cinnabar Lure attack to hit well, you are setting yourself up for a great game. And really, you may want to lose those 2 prizes in the beginning, and you can proc counter gain so easily. So that is a new tool card we'll talk about in a bit, but it's a great comeback mechanic. That's a reprint. So those who've been in the game know what counter gain does. So we'll see how this goes. I may build that list, or at least figure out something that goes with this, because that is just crazy if you can get that set up. So the last section for Pokemon is colorless. So the two Pokemon I want to highlight, again, always two. First one is the Eevee, just real quick. Has a boosted evolution ability. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, it can evolve during your first turn or the first turn you play it. That's important because of the Sylveon, get that powered up and get Eevee better protected because it only has 50 HP. The one card I do want to talk about, Slacking EX. This is taking the community by storm. Okay, that's a little exaggerated, but I think it has a lot of potential. It's a stage 2, 340 HP Pokemon. That's right, 340. That is hard to KO in one shot. And it has Born to Slack ability. So this is going to make it interesting. If your opponent has no Pokemon EX or V in play, the Pokemon can attack. Luckily, most decks play at least one EX or V. This is going to have a hard time against the single prize decks, but there is a baby slacking that you can play instead. And then just don't play the EX unless you absolutely have to. And then it has an attack called Great Swing, 280 damage for 2 colorless energies, and you discard an energy from this Pokemon. A lot of people are talking about pairing this with Boomerang Energy. Boomerang Energy reads that if you have to discard it because of an attack, instead of going into your discard, it goes back into your hand. So that I can see a great combo with this if you can get another energy attached to the Slacking. It is not a Terra Pokemon, so Sparkling Crystal will not work on this, but Counter Gain will if you're behind the prizes. So this is going to be interesting to see how this goes. Some people are talking about decks for specifically just for this card. I've seen this paired with Terrapagos because you're already playing the double Turbo Energy. I'm excited. This may be a future Rogue Deck of the Week for us, so stay tuned for that. We'll see how this plays in tournaments. But yeah, another beefy boy. Man, I am liking all the high HP Pokemon. My wall stall heart is happy. I love playing those decks. So we'll see how that goes. Next, we're going to talk about trainer cards. So this set introduces a lot of new ace specs. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trainer card ace specs, and then 1 special energy ace spec. That's a lot. I'm not even sure the first set that started with ace specs had this many. So we're going to have a lot of choices when we build our decks, because remember, we can only have 1 ace spec in our deck. And some of them are decent. There's the Amulet of Hope, where if this Pokemon is KO'd by damage, you search up to 3 cards and put them in your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So I can kind of see this with Control again, because they're not really attacking. They kind of want to get KO'd so they can get behind prizes and then stall you out. This may be a great tool for them. There's the Brilliant Blender ace spec, which I pulled. Search your deck for up to 5 cards and discard them and shuffle your deck. I can see this go with the Sailor Edge EX deck that we talked about earlier. This can also be played with Lugia. Easy way to get your Archeops in discard. You're going to be giving up the Legacy Energy instead, but this may be a more consistent way to get that Pokemon into your discard. However, it's a great deck. I'm not sure it's going to need that consistency, so it probably can forego this card. We're going to talk about Counter Gain. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, attacks used by this Pokemon cause a colorless less. This is going to be played in a lot of decks that have the colorless costs built in. This is not a spec, but this is going to be a great card to include. Energy Search Pro, this A spec My Gold Angle fans, this is for you. John, if you're listening, I know we talked about this card already, but I would try to look for this, put in your Goldango list, because this can be insane. Search your deck for any number of basic energy cards of different types, reveal them, and put them in your hand, then shuffle your deck. I've seen Goldango decks play one of every energy type, and then they go a little more heavy on the the metal and water, and then use the other energies when you discard for your Goldango attack. As soon as you do that, and you play your superior energy retrievals, and you play your any energy retrieval card, you have unlimited resources now. So see if this works better than the Hyper Roma or the Prime Catcher. Test it out. I'm not a big Goldango person, but I've heard this is pretty good. Another card I want to talk about is a new stadium. Let's talk about 2 new stadiums here. The first one is Gravity Mountain. So Gravity Mountain reads, each stage 2 Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's, get minus 30 HP. This is important. This alters the math for Charizard EX, Dragapult EX, Slacking EX. It makes it more doable for one shot. So we'll see how this plays. Some decks are playing a one-off in this just to kind of get it over the hill. It is easily counterable because it is a stadium. Just have to discard it. Or if your opponent's not playing any stage 2, it's a dead card. So we'll see how this goes. And then instead of minusing 30 HP, let's add 30 HP. But this time to basic Pokemon. This is done by Lively Stadium. It reads, each basic Pokemon in play gets plus 30 HP. Not sure when we're going to see that. Maybe the basic heavy decks will play it. However, there's probably better stadiums. I'm thinking of like Raging Bolt. You may want to play the Pokestop instead, so we'll see. But I think the Gravity Mountain will probably see more play. It's a great card, especially if you have trouble hitting the KO on Charizard EX. So we'll go from there. For those people, no shame right now, but raise your hand if you do not like Lugia. I see you. Don't worry, I'm one of you. I do not like that deck. I always have a hard time playing against it. But there's a new ace spec that appears to have the same sentiment. It's called Megaton Blower. Discard all Pokemon tools and special energy from all your opponent's Pokemon and discard a stadium in play. So, late game, all that special energy and play that Lugia put, it can say bye-bye. This actually hits Claw for any tool-heavy deck really hard, because you're discarding all those tools. So we'll see if this plays. I think this is one of the weaker ace specs, but it may have its place in the metagame. Another ace spec I just want to talk about real quick is Scramble Switch. This is a reprint ace spec. This was one of the original ones. So if you still have the original Scramble Switch, you're allowed to play that card because it reads the exact same. Switch your active Pokemon with one on your bench. If you do, you may move any amount of energy from that Pokemon to your from your bench Pokemon to your new active. It may see a lot of play with maybe Dialga, with the Archloudon. Any Pokemon that plays a lot of energy on a Pokemon. So we'll see how that goes. But that's pretty much it for the trainer cards. There's other supporters. I'm not really seeing anything that is going to be very impactful right now. However, that may change as the time goes on with tournaments. People are probably going to metagame way better than me. So we'll see how this goes. But those were the cards I think are going to be more impactful. There's one new special energy. It's an ace spec of Enriching Energy. Control players will like this because when you play it, you when you attach this from your hand to your Pokemon, you draw 4 cards. So if you don't have a Rotom in play and you need a search, this could be your tool. So that's pretty much it for Surging Sparks. I think there's a lot more support Pokemon than main new archetypes with this set. Obviously, Archelaudon, Hydreigon are going to be new archetypes, but a lot of Pokemon are just going to be supporting what's already out there. We'll see. There's a lot of tournaments in the next format. The Stellar Crown format was really short. This one's going to be a little longer. We'll just have to wait and see how people think, how they develop and build these decks and introduce these cards in there. So yeah. Surging Sparks. Excited for it. But that is in the future. We still have about a month before we can play these in any tournaments. But what we can do now is talk about our Rogue Deck of the Week. This deck you can play in tournaments right now. You can play at your locals. So today's Rogue Deck of the Week is Lapras Dialga. I will admit, when this card was announced, I said it was not a good card. And it still isn't. This is a reason why it's a rogue deck. It is a very fun card. The attack Lemure Rain. It's for a water, psychic, and metal. You look at the top 20 cards of your deck and attach any number of energy cards you find there to your Pokemon any way you like. And then shuffle the rest. Well, you may be asking, okay, cool, you're attaching a lot of energy, but to what? Does the Lapras attack, is that good? Yeah, it's another Hydro Pump attack, but what we paired off is with Dialga VSTAR, because of the Star Chronos. So it's an easy way to get the 5 energy on the Star Chronos, and those who don't remember, or just need a refresher, it does 220 damage, and then you take another turn. You skip Pokemon Checkup, your opponent doesn't take a turn, it goes right back into your turn. So, I played a couple games with this. It's pretty fun. It is interesting to set up, because if you don't get that Lapras EX in play, or at least attacking with that Lemure Rain, it's going to be slow going. However, I did get a couple wins with it. Your goal is to try to get the 4 prize knockout. You want to use Star Chronos and get a 2 prizer and then boss up again another 2 prizer and get ahead. Or finish off, depending on how you want to do it. You play the Noctowl in the list to get the cards you need, because Lapras EX is a Terra Pokemon. You play support mons like the Fezandipiti and the Mew to help with draw. You play the Radiant Greninja to help with draw, and really you could use it as an attacker because you do play 2 water energy. If you're in a bind and only need to do 90 to 2 Pokemon, it can be a play. Very hard, but it is an option. The A-Spec of choice is the Sparkling Crystal. You use that just so you can try to get that Lemure Rain off as soon as you can. Because if you can Crispin for 2, use Sparkling Crystal, you can try to power up your Dialga V-Star really quick and then go off from there. It is a fun deck. I was thinking about bringing it to a local this weekend, but I have other plans. The deck list will be in the show notes. Have fun. As disclaimer, it's not the most consistent thing in the world. It's fun, but it's not consistent. But that's the point of playing rogue decks. Sometimes we just need to get out from playing the Regidragos, from playing the Raging Bolts, and just remember we need to play fun decks like this again. Plus, every Pokemon needs its time to shine. If you're a great player and need something different, I would recommend this. Well, that is all for me this week. For those going to pre-releases, good luck on your pulls. Let us know anything that you get from your kits. If you have any ideas for these new cards, let us know. Hit us up. We're always looking for new rogue decks. Sometimes we get caught up and we only see the same thing over and over again. So a fresh pair of eyes on these things can go a long way for me and John. But yeah, we'll see how this weekend goes. I will be judging a tournament this week, so I'm not going to be playing. But if you're at For Honor and Glory, come say hi to me. I will be one of the judges for that challenge. And yeah, let's see how Gdansk goes and see what fun decks come out of that. But that is all for me. Hope you all have a great week. And as a reminder, just keep on playing those sneaky decks through the season. Have a good night, y'all.
Hey all you rogues out there. We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor and one of our home leagues at For Honor and Glory. They have all you need for your card game and TTRPG needs. Some upcoming events they have are on Saturday, October 5th, the TCG Monthly League Challenge. On Saturday, October 26th, the Monthly Video Game League Challenge. Saturday, October 26th, also a Surging Sparks TCG pre-release, as well as Sunday, October 27th, the Surging Sparks pre-release, and Sunday, October 27th, also the Pokemon Go Cup and Pokemon Go Challenge. Remember, you can always go over to forhonorandglory.com and use discount code ROGUE24. That's ROGUE24 at forhonorandglory.com to receive 10% off your entire online order. All right, have fun playing your sneaky decks.